Hello everyone and welcome back to my A through Z playthrough for Here's the Storm. Today we are going to be taking a look at a character that I used to play a lot back in the day. She was so different back then than she is now. And that is Zagara, one of our favorite brood mothers from StarCraft, who was introduced in Heart of the Swarm. She has gone through so much change since her time in the game. Over the past year, not so much, because the current iteration has been around, I'm pretty sure, for at least a year, if not like 2 years. But I don't recall any notable changes to Zagara in recent times. But I can tell you that since she's been in the game, she has gone through so much change. And you know, I look at how she's set up today with her talents, and it's almost like I don't even recognize the character. Like she feels so different from how she used to be, how you would play her back then. Well, let's get into a game, and I'll kind of start to go over that a bit. Let's see what map. Oh, okay. Tomb of the Spider Queen. That's not a bad map for Zagara. I actually recall I used to love playing Zagara on this map because of being able to put the creep around. But I also remember when this would come up, I would actually recommend to my teammates that we ban Zagara. And this was back when Zagara was like really strong. And like a pretty strong hero that you would be okay with banning. Because of how much damage she would do, how much chaos and havoc she would do, and how much vision she would provide. That I would tell my team, ban Zagara, because she's going to set up creep all around the shrines, and we are never going to get a turn in here. So anyway. So here's a dilemma I face right off the bat. Not what talent to pick, but why it's set up the way it is. Infest. Nearby ranged minions deal an additional 100% damage, plus an additional 1% per 1,000 siege damage that Zagara has dealt. Here's the part that puzzles me. Can be toggled on or off. Here's something I would love for somebody to answer. Why? Why would you ever toggle this off? I don't see any reason why you would ever turn that off. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why not just have it be a passive? There's nothing saying if you have this toggled on, it like drains more mana, it causes some kind of negative effect to the minion. Nothing. There's nothing explaining why you would ever want to turn that off. As far as I'm concerned, leave that on the whole time, because why would you ever want to turn this off? It doesn't really make any sense to me why they would make that an ability that you could toggle off. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's something that has always puzzled me about that talent ever since it's been in the game. They give you the option to turn it off, but why would you ever want to turn it off? So anyway, like that's just something that's always bothered me. So Zagara, man, I remember back when her creep and tumors would operate differently. You could actually set up a build. I actually looked this up to refresh my memory. You could actually set up a build back in the day focused around your creep. You could increase your health regen when you're on your creep. You could increase your movement speed. You could be able to have it spread farther and last longer and increase the tumor's health. It was like, you know, and it's like, it's somewhat still here, but only if you take the Nidus Network ult. But it's like, eh. Alright. Let's see here. Now, Envenom Spines actually used to be just a passive you could pick up. Just add poison to her basic attacks. Now it's an activatable thing, which I'm not fond of. Now, Medusa Blades is also still pretty good, but doesn't do that much damage. Now, let's see. Serrated Spines. They have a mouth, a butcher, Viking. We're gonna go with Medusa Blades. Really, there are times against certain characters and compositions that I would definitely recommend serrated spines. Like if you are facing a Chen or some kind of enemy that is very stationary, will just stand there and kind of take it. Like that's a great time to take serrated spines because you are going to get so much stacks and value from that. Because like they're just going to sit there and take it. So look at this. I'm able to attack the structure and attack the butcher. Alright. Oh, hello, Diva. Go ahead and spread my creep around. Put a tumor there to provide some vision. Let's get the sippy cup, get some more mana. So, yeah, Zagara used to be able to, she could have a build focused completely around her creep. She could be able to have a build focus around, just like tons of roaches or hunter killers. Like, she operated what felt like so differently back in the day. And she somewhat does still have some of that still in the game now, but it's not quite the same. I mean, it's not to say that she's now a bad character or anything of that, just because that change happened that she's bad, because she's not. She's still really good. She's actually considered one of the top solo lane bullies in the game these days. Though there are certain characters that do give her a hard time. So she's not necessarily a character that you can pick every time on every map. She can be able to kind of hold her own on Braxis holdout, but there are certain characters that can give her a difficult time. But because of her ability to just, have the banelings, the roaches, the hunter killers, it just makes her just so good at just trying to dominate her lane. I could go for more banelings, or I could go for bile drop, but I don't know. I suppose because the Vikings are a thing in this game, bile drop could be good. But on this map, I think Baneling Massacre would be better. To have more banelings to deal to the waves and the spider queens if the AI gets a turn in. Though at this rate, this is going to be super fast. Alright. Now here's a reason why I have actually kind of fallen out of, not really playing Zagara all that much these days. Right here. So these days, many people think Nidus Network is like the go-to ult choice for Zagara. Like you have to set up Nidus Network things all over. You gotta be all over the map, doing tons of split pushing and such. And if you don't do that well, then you're not playing Zagara right. And, I'm not the only one who thinks this, that Nidus Network is not the end-all, be-all for Zagara. I mean, is it really good in terms of, having your creep go farther, adding buffs to Zagara? Yeah, it is. Adding Zagara regenerates health and mana on the creep, so if you fight her, she's able to sustain better. But, I mean, I still like Devouring Maw. I mean, don't get me wrong, as I said in my Zool video, I love being a character that can be able to do tons of split pushing and XP contribution for my team. But there's just something about the Nidus Network that has just not quite worked with me. It's just never really been a thing for me. Not to say it's bad, it just doesn't feel right for me. I still like Devouring Maw. The fact that this says that you can be able to use this on unstoppable enemies, that is huge against certain enemies. To be able to provide a way to shut down certain enemies that become unstoppable, that's incredible. So I know hardly anyone ever picks Devouring Maw anymore, but I still like it. And I know I'm not the only one that does still like it. I know there are other people that also still like it. Can I... No! The roaches can't get to him. Ugh. Spreading the creep. Of course, he hits his arrow right at where I put the tumor. Get one more. There we go. I have enough to get a turn in now. Kind of lost our vision over here. Now you can see the duration for one like this. That got all used up. So Zagara, you know, I hope I'm getting it through that that I'm saying that she's in a good spot. She just, how people say you're supposed to use her now is just not quite like, all right, so here's a good opportunity. There you go. Look at that maw. That triple maw. Oh. Look at all that damage from the banelings there. Hydralisk Transfusion, where now the damage that does, which is still pretty good damage, then provides healing to Zagara. Now, if you had gone with Nidus Network, then grabbing the armor while on creep is also good because, of course, you're putting down more tumors, you're letting it spread even farther, which gives you more access to those buffs because you have it all over the place. But since we didn't go Nidus Network, I think the healing from the Hydralisk is actually a pretty good idea right here. Oh my goodness, the damage that did to Malfurion just now. Woo! For the swan! Now, of course, that, you know, it's also a great way to get all around the map. You can put a Nidus Network thing right here and then put it just anywhere and then use that to get all around the place. But, it's, you know, I'd say if you're able to do that, you know, that's great. It's just not quite what I am looking for when I want to play Zagara. I still have a, you know, a soft spot, a soft place for Devouring Maw. I still really like it. I know that's not like what people consider to be the go-to way you play Zagara nowadays, but I still think Devouring Maw still has a place in the game, that it still has a place for Zagara. And there are other people I know that agree with me. There's someone else I know who's a Zagara main. He agrees. He prefers Devouring Maw over Nidus Network, and he's able to be very successful going with that. And he's like in master ranks. So he plays Zagara more than I. He, you know, he's played her recently a lot more than I have, and you know, I say if he's, you know, given the okay on Devouring Maw over Nidus, then, you know, I say good. And I say that's good enough for me. All right, level 16, Mutalisk. Not going to do quite as much damage, I think, as the Hunter Killer does, but the fact that it lasts 30 seconds and it like helps chase things down, I think is pretty nice. Let's see, look at that. We actually haven't done that much siege damage, actually. But you can see, is able to do pretty good hero damage. I love that the catapults get more interested in getting this gate than moving forward. This happens every time on this map. They always love to focus on getting that gate. Of course, I'm playing right now as other Zagara players probably would be doing right now, which is, oh, gotta push, gotta split push, gotta get that XP, gotta get that siege damage. Of course, the more siege damage you've done, the more Infest is going to benefit, which, again, why would I ever turn this off? Why, Blizz, why did you give us the option to toggle it off? Is there a specific reason? Tell me! It just doesn't really make sense to me, unless there's a clear-cut reason why. See, I love that. I don't think people think Devouring Maw is terrible. They just have gotten so obsessed with the split push play of Devouring Maw that they've just pretty much forgotten all about Devouring Maw. And it's a real shame because Devouring Maw is still really strong. There we go. Woo! 15 kills. See, I know this is not necessarily considered like the standard build these days for Zagara because it's all focused on spreading the creep, getting Nidus Network being all over the map. But I still enjoy this playstyle for Zagara with Devouring Maw. It's just... It's kind of reminds me of the old days of how she used to be, which was something she used to be a character I played all the time. I have her up to 26, not because of times I played her recently, but because of how much I played her back then. I played her a ton back then. And the emphasis on how she's quote-unquote supposed to be played these days is just not something that quite gelled for me. So the build I went with today, Infest, again, why would I ever toggle that off? I don't get it. I don't understand. Medusa Blades, Baneling Massacre, Devouring Maw, Hydralisk Transfusion, and Mutalisk at level 20. Fury the Storm is still pretty good. Here's another reason why people take Endless Creep. The range you cast is 2,000%, lasts 600 seconds. You gain extra movement speed. So basically, a lot of the creep build that you used to be able to pick back in the day has all been crammed into the Nidus Network ult, which is a reason why a lot of people pick it. Deals 50 more damage. Takedowns reduce the cooldown by 25 seconds. That's amazing. So if you do that on a low health character, you're going to be able to use that again pretty quickly. Fury of the Storm, though, still also really good in terms of spreading lots of siege damage and such. So I probably would have gone for either Fury or Tyrant Maw. I think Zagara still has a pretty good spot in the game. She's considered a very strong lane bully, very strong solo laner. Especially if you love going with the Nidus Network build. It's not quite the build for me, but I still like her, and I feel like perhaps... I mean, that was fun, getting to play her again after so long, kind of relive what she used to be like. She's a character I want to be able to get back into playing again, but I know that people are just... if they think if you don't take Nidus Network, then you're being an idiot or a noob or whatever. It's just something I don't really want to do, because it's just not something that really quite works for me. I liked being able to take the creep build and then also be able to have Devouring Maw. It just felt fun back then. Up next, I mentioned Yrel was a character who overnight went from a character people didn't like to a character people loved. Well, that also kind of happened with Zarya, though she was not great for a little longer than Yrel. We'll go over that a bit more when we come back. Stay tuned.